All right. Well, looks like it is right at 12:05. Nope. Well,
Yeah, sounds good. We can go ahead and get started. So, just want to do a couple housekeeping things, and then we'll turn it over to Kevin. So, first off, thank you everybody for attending the GISA Lunch and Learn today. We're going to have our Central Region Director, Kevin Taylor, presenting today on utilizing GIS for compliance and pipeline safety. If you could hold any questions till the end, unless Kevin, you want to take any at any breaks, and feel free to do so. And then we also have pinned a survey 123 in the comments, and we appreciate as many people as could who would potentially click the survey and fill out that information. So again, thank you everybody for attending. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Kevin.
all right. Let me just do, basic figuring out how to present. Sorry. So, ah, okay. I at least think everybody can see just the slideshow and not all my slides. I really don't know.
Yeah, we can see all your slides, so you
Okay.
can click the slideshow tab up at the
Yeah,
top.
I think it's the. So when I do that, it doesn't. I don't think it translates to Google Meet because I'm sharing a window. Let me just share the entire screen and be done with
Okay.
it. All right, we're just gonna go with that. Okay.
Yep,
Um,
that looks good. Thanks.
okay. All right. Well, so yes, I'm Kevin Taylor. I'm the GISAA Central Region Director. I work for Spire Energy. This is going to be going over utilizing GIS for compliance and pipeline safety. Um, we This is just one of the many events that the GISAA tries to do at least once a month. I'll get more into that later. Um, if I can. These are just going to go through the topics. Hopefully, I will, not go too long or make it way too short. But I'm going to try to do a little safety minute because I work for a natural gas company. Safety is really important. Introduction, just who I am. Go a little bit over GISA, a little over GIS uses that Spire, and then actually get into the kind of meat of what we do, the pipeline safety GIS, and then a little bit of shifting from desktop to enterprise, just our experience with it, and then from shifting, I guess, collector to field maps, both AGOL and enterprise portal. Um, so I suppose my safety minute for the day is, the heat is coming if you live in the South, like here in Alabama. So just, it's really more geared, this slide's a lot more geared towards, workers out in the field, but it applies to everybody else. It's going to start getting hot. So use sunscreen, stay hydrated, don't leave pets or infants in parked cars because if here in Alabama in about a month it's going to be sweltering. Um, so yeah, that's my safety minute. So yeah, I guess introductions about me. Once again, um, I graduated with my master's from Auburn University Montgomery in 2016. I call myself a GIS professional since 2012, since I had a full time job doing it. Um, but I've been a little bit of everywhere. I worked at 911 Communications. I've interned with EMA, worked with FEMA. Pretty much any internship I could get, I tried to do it. But since about 2016, I've been working for Spire. Used to be Alagasco. Um, that's just a little bit about me. Um, so part of my role as a pipeline safety specialist is I help keep us in compliance with PHMSA Part 191 and 192 regulations. I oversee the geographic side of the leak and atmospheric corrosion surveys. Then we help do transmission risk modeling. I always throw this slide in. If you're ever looking at your meter at your house, now how it works to a rough idea. That little circle on the side is what regulates your gas pressure from being 60 pounds per square inch to like a quarter of a pound per square inch. So, and this other little thing on the side, we're rolling out. These are probably what you may start seeing sooner or later. You may already have one. They're just a digital gas meter. They're a lot more accurate, and we just drive by with a truck and read them. So, and some of them go straight into the billing. But anyway, just more of a just so you know what you're looking at when you're looking at your house. But anyway, so GISAA, this is just about us in general. We provide and facilitate professional GIS growth in Alabama through workshops, networking, online resources. Like I said, we try to do an event once a month. We either sponsor it or just host it in some way or fashion. We sponsor conferences. We just got through helping sponsor the UNA alumni conference up in Florence at University of North Alabama, and we help with the GIS conference down in Gulf Shores, and some of the events that we have helped facilitate has been search and rescue. There's been stuff with like presentations from Esri. So a little bit of everything that if it's in the world of GIS, it's going on in Alabama. We're trying to at least get our foot in there and help people get there. We also have at least one scholarship for GIS students. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but I know there are plenty of people on this call that do. So, so we have basically our North region, Central region, South, and Capital. So anyway, so Spire. Just to say, who is Spire? We used to be called Alagasco used to be as part of it. So Spire itself, we're fifth largest natural gas company in the country. We serve Missouri, Alabama, Wyoming, Mississippi. We now have offices in like Oklahoma and Texas. They don't actually serve gas. They do our kind of marketing stuff, but whatever. We have about 3,600 employees across 5 states. So, we're one of the big guys. So this is kind of a general slide of kind of where we are. We've added some offices here lately that I haven't been able to add to a slide, but But general GIS uses at Spire. It's the backbone of our company, and it's probably the backbone of a lot of other companies. We design pipeline. GIS is used to design pipeline projects. We do application support. We have GPS as builting. Then we have database administration. We have server administration. We are the official system of record for DOT reports. So, we have to send our mileages of Maine once a year to PHMSA, and they pull all of that out of GIS. So, whether somebody knows a main is in the ground or not, if it's not in our system, it officially doesn't exist. So we obviously do a lot of QA QC to try to find any instances where that's happened. And usually it happens in purchased locations because their records aren't as good as they should be. So we find things that we didn't know existed. And we also GIS is pivotal to gas outages. So I'm going to probably touch on those a little in a second. So construction engineering, if you've ever seen an engineering drawing, this is just one of the many that our construction engineering department does. They do new construction, system improvement, replacements. They look like the engineering drawings, but that's just part of what we do. GPS as building, we use Trimble R2 units, and these are GIS professionals out there with the construction crews, and they're popping points for every fitting and every valve and bend, anything that was need to know for the project. They're out there doing that. We're trying to get sub-inch accuracy. The more accurate your data is going in, the more accurate you can actually pull it later. There are outages. Once again, just Alabama 811. Call before you dig, even in your front yard. Even if you've lived there your whole life and you think you know where all your utilities are, please call before you dig. That way you don't get charged when you accidentally hit something that wasn't that you didn't know was there. We have a automated outage process. Basically, one of our field supervisors says, "Hey, there's been a hit main at this address." We can run a process that will generate basically a list of customers that are fed by that main, and it'll automatically generate work orders and notices for all those customers, letting them know, hey, there's going to be an outage in your area, and we're working to fix it. So that's just kind of our general uses. So I guess I'll move into the true pipeline safety part of it. So my role, I'm kind of in charge of two different realms of distribution integrity management and in transmission integrity management. And fortunately, they kind of piggyback of each other. So in distribution, we have atmospheric corrosion surveys and leak surveys, leak management, and right-of-way maintenance. So for right-of-way maintenance, if we have a purchased easement and right-of-way, we have to keep it clear in order to actually leak survey it. So our Public Service Commission will occasionally let us know, hey, a right-of-way is not clear enough for you to reasonably be able to walk it for leak survey. So we'll go down and do those individually. But also, our right-of-way, we don't want trees growing on top of our mains. And so we contract out right-of-way maintenance with a company, go out there, clear brush and trees. And we use field maps for that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I was just moving on to just making sure. Then transmission integrity, we have our transmission line surveys, which kind of go hand in hand with leak survey, and then we do risk modeling with the GIS software. So what atmospheric corrosion and leak survey is, per PHMSA guidelines, you need to inspect any above ground facility for atmospheric corrosion. That pretty much means all of your meters. It is steel, it's metal sticking up out of the ground. It's going to corrode eventually. So, and then we have about 11,000 miles of main that, need to be leak surveyed. And that's either physically walking it or using drones or cars or whatever. But we pretty much use field maps to prove that we've been doing this. There are some areas, other utilities out there, they're still using paper and pencil for this. They basically give guys a big binder of maps and say, go walk this, and when you're done, let us know that you did it. We wanted to really implement this technology for that, because when PHMSA or when the Alabama PSC or PHMSA wants to see proof that did you actually walk this and did you actually inspect them, we can pretty much go down to the address and to the street and say, yes, we were there on this date, we inspected it. For atmospheric corrosion, you have to inspect each meter once every 3 years. So we divided every location that we have into thirds, so that we don't have to try to do, let's say Montgomery has 50,000 customers in it. We don't want to have to try to do 50,000 meters in a year. So we divide it in thirds. And we just keep on cycling around. Leak surveys, if you have cast iron pipe and cathodically unprotected steel, that's also a 3-year cycle. So we typically try to piggyback them on the AC areas. And then plastic and protected steel, they're 5-year cycles. So we have 5-year areas for that. In the two images you're seeing here, this is how we kind of set up our metering. Is we had meter points for every meter in the state, and we have some service lines, but not all of them. So the way we figured the best way to do this was, using field maps, and we'll actually start it with collector. Using collector, and our field techs would go to each meter as they're doing their thing, and they answer several questions about the meter. Of do they need paint? Is there any damage? Is it leaking? So forth and so on. And while they're doing these surveys, they can also drop leaks directly into our work order system, so that they're not having to call dispatch and tell somebody, hey, I found a grade 1, 2, or 3 leak here. They can pin it and somebody else take care of it. Now, grade 1, of course, they're going to call it in regardless. But so that's kind of the atmospheric corrosion process and leak survey process. And another thing that we did was, used to be there were great big giant areas. Like if you look at this Montgomery area, this used to be one big polygon, and where we basically had 3 very large polygons, and we decided that we would try to break them down into areas that you can be worked within 5 days, into a week. So basically, we just did a lot of interpolation of of data, and fortunately, ArcPro's not drive time, but walk time analysis, you can generate polygons based on that. You can just tell it, hey, give me how far somebody can walk within 5 days, or which I think we assumed was 2 miles. So we basically just started at centroids and said, give us 2-mile polygons, and that's kind of what they did. We had to do a lot of editing because the software doesn't see rivers and bridges, but that's just normal things you have to deal with in geography. So I guess just some of the practice of how we shifted. So when we started, it was ArcGIS collector. There were some crash issues, but the breadcrumbing was one of the things we loved about it. All you had to do was create a feature class for breadcrumbs. It would turn on in the background, and the techs didn't really even care that it was there. They knew it was, but they couldn't turn it off. And you could set how often they drop points, which was very nice. This picture just shows one of our areas, and the little red dots is just where the tech went as he was trying to complete his leak survey. Obviously, it looks like they managed to, they went around, but they got close enough that we can say, yes, you walked most of that main. It was directly connected to ArcGIS Online, which was great. The problem with collector was, just like anything else, Esri kept trying to innovate, so they deprecated it. So you can't even download collector off of the App Store anymore. But it worked well for when we used it, and we have to move on. So moving to ArcGIS field maps on ArcGIS Online, it was initially buggy. Granted, this was probably 2 years ago, but and when we first started it, it ate battery like you would not believe. We could not figure out how to make it stop eating. Like it would kill some of the phone's batteries really fast. Fortunately, that is something that has gotten better. It could be very well that because we provided phones to our contractors, maybe they were using bad phones. I don't know, but we did finally get that sorted. One of the benefits of field maps is, you can create calculated expressions, and the field maps designer, you can make, I don't know the right word, but it's like relative expressions. So, if you've got a question about, does it need, let's say, a meter, is a meter damaged? You can make it to where it asks, 3 more questions after that, but never show those questions the entire time. So, we're trying to make this as simple as possible for field employees, and also as quick as possible for field employees, because with close to 60, 70,000 meters in a day, you don't want to give a turnaround of 2 minutes a meter. They'll never get it done. So right now we're pretty much down to like 10 to 20 seconds a meter, and that's great. And also benefit of field maps is when you build one map, you can basically copy it and you duplicate everything. You don't have to recreate map after map after map, trying to figure out how they, having to remember, oh, how did I filter this and how did I set up that question? So that's great. What ran into my problem though is if you make one map, you just have to make sure you get it really right, because if once you duplicate it, you just have to fix that error in like 5 maps. But that's just me. The breadcrumbing was probably the hardest part for us to figure out what to do with, because original breadcrumbing in Collector was basically just a background feature class. It ran forever and it stored like a normal feature class. Well, Esri shifted to tracks, and that changed everything. It dropped. I think that's what we think ate a lot of the battery of field maps when it first started was tracks. It was dropping. It's still dropping points about once every, I don't even know, maybe 2 seconds or something. It's quite often. But one of the problems for us was that users can't see one another on tracks unless you're sharing just right. And then on the phone, they erase after 72 hours, which wouldn't be an issue, but some of the techs like to know where they left off. They might end at 4 o'clock on a Friday and pick back up on a Monday, and they just can't, that's basically 72 hours later, and they don't remember where they left off. Unless because we have some rural areas that have just pipe going through fields and no meters around to see. But we've kind of figured that out. But probably the worst thing was that they overwrite after 30 days. So I had to basically set up a model to export every 30 days, or else they would just start overwriting. And we need to be able to prove where you walked, that you have to be able to have that. So, and then some of that got corrected when we went to Enterprise Portal. So still some of it they can't see each other, but that's okay. The tracks still erase off the phones after 72 hours, but they're stored forever on our portal. So we don't have to worry about making an archive every 30 days. And we can set it to where certain users have permission for everybody, and that's kind of sorted out. So fortunately, really the change from ArcGIS to Portal really wasn't that difficult, at least on the field map side. So I guess some of our issues that we had going from desktop to enterprise, on desktop, you can add and remove data pretty easy because you can run things out of geodatabases or a SQL server or wherever, and it's pretty easy. If you need to add outside company employees like we do, because we have contractors that do some of our leak surveys, all we have to do is set up a whole bunch. If we have enough licenses, we can just add people as they come and go, and don't have to add them to our VPNs. A benefit to a degree is Esri and Amazon servers. You don't have to store all that information somewhere, but it's also a detriment because about once a quarter to at least once a year, Esri servers would go down for who knows reason, and that's basically just a whole day of work lost. As soon as, like, while they're down, nothing. You couldn't collect data, couldn't do anything. So, but also you have license costs and credits. So that's also one of the problems with desktop side of this. One of the benefits is you do get all the latest and greatest ArcGIS Online tools. So every time they show off ArcGIS Online dashboards and all the things that they do, you get all the fancy bells and whistles. So that's great. So when you go into enterprise, it's all locked down in SD and your IT structure. So if you have, so editing your data is a little less easy than it used to be. Accompanying users is real easy. You just have them try to sign in and away they go. But when you have outside company users like what we do, what we basically had to do was create each contract leak surveyor. We had to create them a company ID, give them a company phone, and so that way they can access our company VPN. And unfortunately, these outside contractors, they have a lot of turnover. So they're so about once a month they'll send us a list of, oh, these people are gone and these people are new. And if anything y'all know about onboarding processes, that can be a little of a pain, just a pain point on this part. Also with enterprise, your version kind of determines what you get access to. If you have the latest version of the enterprise, you get all the latest kind of bells and whistles that they like to show off. If you have a later version of enterprise or an earlier version of enterprise, some of the stuff is still a couple of generations back. Also, if you're sharing dashboards, somebody has to have VPN access to be able to get that with the way we're using it. Let's see, I'll back up a second to the tracks. I know some people may not understand why we track the users. For one, it's just so we can prove where we walked, but also to prove, just in case our contractors or even company employees very rarely are not lying to us and providing false information. We have had situations where a contract employee was saying that he was leak surveying, but we went back to tracks and we saw his speed, and it basically showed that he was in the middle of the road driving his truck at about 10 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour and checking off meters as he went. And we said, that's not acceptable. That guy was gone, and they had to rewalk that area. And that's, you hate to have somebody lose their job, but you also want them to do their job. So it's a great record keeping tool. And also it's a great way for us to have a record of where people are, because there are some locations, there's rural areas and even urban areas where people will give us a call and say, hey, somebody's at my house. They say they work for Spire, and can you prove this? And we can go in and see where they're standing and say, yes, this is our contractor or our company employee. So it's a great way to protect our employees and our contractors at the same time. Let's see. The transmission risk modeling, it's really more of a side. I've just really gotten started into this role, so I'm still learning a lot about it. But we have another software that GIS is pivotal to. Without it, you don't have anything to run, but it calculates risk of each main and transmission segment based on a lot of different factors, material and pressure. That's just design and manufacturing things, but then also you have high consequence areas, which are they're identified by if they're 50 or more people in them more than once or twice a week. There's a lot of other criteria that go into high consequence areas. Then you have the geographic risks of a pipeline. You have flood zones, earthquakes, river crossings, railroad, soil types. So it assigns kind of a risk factor to each of these gas lines. And even though this picture just shows a pipe sitting out, they're obviously getting ready to put in the ground. We at Spire have almost no above ground facilities. The only ones that I know of pipe, we have some locations around the state where the main is actually attached to a bridge. I know Wetumpka Bridge is one of them for sure, but I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but oh well, it is. It's public knowledge to the PSC, so they know it. Which I think I really ran through that really fast, and I apologize. I guess, is there anything that I haven't gone over or that I was unclear about? Sorry.
No, that was great. We can open it up for questions.
Yeah.
I'll start it off. What version of Enterprise are you guys running currently?
Oh, I really don't know. Let's see. Let me back out of this because I don't work. I'm not on the uh, enterprise side. I'm not on like the server administration side. I'm kind of on just the use it side. So I don't really know. I know I've asked that question. Let me see. Utility network portal is 10.9.10.9.1, and but we're fixing to upgrade to 11.1, and our older portal is 10.7.1. So
Okay. We had another question. What software do you use for transmission risk modeling?
we use it's called Geodynamic Pipeline Office Studio. They kind of developed a model for us that we've had to edit pretty heavily to get it to work right, but that's the one we use for our transmission risk modeling. And so far, it's working out pretty well now that we've kind of ironed out some of the bugs. But
And what kind of outputs do you get out of that?
there, I think the word somebody used was like relative risk output. So it'll give us, basically risks determining by like manufacturing uh, risks, incorrect operation risk, um, environmental risks, and then it kind of rolls it up level by level into um, basically a total risk factor score. So it gives scores based on um, a lot of different segments.
Uh,
Can't remember.
Somebody
Sorry.
asked, can you name the software again, please?
Oh, it's Geodynamic Pipeline Office Studio. Geodynamic is the company that uses it, or that provides it to us. And yeah,
Okay.
Pipeline Office Studio. Um,
All right. We had a couple comments too. Folks appreciated how you talked about what went wrong and what the challenges were. I think most of us in the industry who are at least using Esri software and getting into more complicated stacks with enterprise really understand what some of those challenges are. I appreciate that someone just threw the link to the
oh,
software up in the chat.
mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions? Let's see. We got another one said, did you run into any issues with Esri apps on older devices?
Um, I think we did. I think when field maps first rolled out, I think that was one of the other reasons we started providing company phones. Is a lot of the contractors had Samsung. Well, they had a mixture of phones. So I think there were a couple of their techs that they had an older iPhones or older Galaxy phones that just couldn't run field maps anymore, or just couldn't run it. So um, that was one of the reasons why we started issuing them company iPhones. Also, because of the security concerns, but the VPN. Let me look at the chat. All right. All right. And then let's see. What's the expected lifetime of the pipes? Um, I mean, it could be 50 to 100 years, maybe even longer. Like cast iron pipe is technically, well past. A lot of it was installed in the 1930s. So cast iron, some of it you dig up and it is almost, penny thin, and some of it you dig up and it's almost like it was laid yesterday. Just soil conditions can change. Plastic pipe, I think, has a life expectancy in the ground of like 75 to 100 years, I think. Steel pipe, if it's cathodically protected, steel pipe could probably last forever, um, unless some corrosion occurs or damage occurs, um, and um, that's a whole nother ball game. What we do, we have damage inspections. A lot of our leaks come from damages, obviously, and a schedule replacement program. We do have a schedule replacement program for cast iron and unprotected steel, um, and the cast iron is usually based on um, leaks leaks per mile within the cast iron, and also to a degree ease of access to replacements. Um, and then we do have some old Adelaide plastic pipe, which is some of the first plastic they started using, and that's been really similar. It's not as important as cast iron, but when we find it and it's in a replacement area, we just go ahead and take it out, because Adelaide plastic gets brittle and it's not easy to tie into. It doesn't leak as bad, but it's just not easy to work with. Do we use drones for inspection? We do not use any drones currently, but I know we are exploring that. We're also we're exploring, Picaro and a bunch of other, like, basically vehicle-based leak survey equipment. We've seen a lot of demos of it, and we're just kind of trying to see how the industry responds to that. Right now we know we're getting pretty good accurate measurement of guy on boots on the ground, but having a vehicle drive it and getting similar accuracy, that just cuts down on manpower, and it probably adds to speed. So. Say is that. That's all the questions so far.
Yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, any other?
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Well, there we got another one for routes. Do you ever notate
Ah,
locations such as avoid the dog?
yes. We During our leak and atmospheric corrosion surveys, one of the questions on the meters and the leaks is a notation for cannot gain entry or cannot locate address. And we actually let them drop a comment in saying, "Hey, there's a dog," or something like that. Sometimes we allow them to drop barriers to surveys. So occasionally they'll come across a tree that has fell down on the right of way. So we have to send that to our right of way contractors to get them to clear it. Um, and when we come across, a locked gate or a dog or something like that, basically our company dispatchers get in touch with that customer to tell that customer, hey, we Spire needs to be able to have access to the meter, so please allow them to come in. I mean, there have been times where we've had to have, a police escort to go to somebody's house just to go walk up and inspect their meter for a leak and average corrosion. Um, it does happen. It's not often, but it does. Um, so, and usually we get that information on the back end and kind of send it out to our the dispatching. So.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right, I threw the survey 123 back out in chat again. If you didn't see that pinned earlier, if you could, we're just trying to collect some information for GISAA. Real short, I think it's 3 questions, just looking to build a heat map of kind of where our members are and where those are attending lunch and learns, and then we'll make that available on our ArcGIS online site. If you have anyone in your organization or anyone you think may be interested in this, we did record this event. So we will have this posted to our YouTube channel here later this week or early next week. And then we'll typically post links to that on our GISAA website. If you're not a member, please join. We're a nonprofit. We're services based. As Kevin mentioned earlier, we're trying to give back a lot more to different universities. So we've given 2 years in a row to the UNA Geography or Geosciences Scholarship Fund. We're also looking to donate to University of Alabama and the University of Auburn and Montgomery this year for scholarships. We're also always interested in sponsoring conferences. We will be at the GISA conference down in Gulf Shores again this year in November. So if you haven't attended that, please check it out. That's a great event. Had over 200 GIS professionals from across the state of Alabama there last month. And if you have any questions or anything about GISAA or just in general, feel free to email me, president@gisaa.org, or you can do info@gisaa.org. If you haven't joined or you're not aware, we also have a Slack channel. So you're welcome to join that Slack channel for free. We post events there. We post job opportunities from across the state. We also post, tips and tricks, new cool things coming out from GIS, general questions that are GIS related. So if you haven't, feel free to reach out at slack@gisa.org or again, president or info@gisa.org. We'll make sure we get you connected in there. Thank you, Kevin, so much for the presentation today. Great job. We appreciate your time, and we really appreciate everyone's time in joining this Lunch and Learn today. And with that, we'll close it out.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.